Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Let's seek the truth and travel the long road to justice together. What you know, Alibiers, happy Friday. We're at the weekend. It has been a long and draining week. I actually laid down today after I picked my daughter up. I woke up 3 hours later, didn't know what planet I was on. It was that deep of a sleep. I text Biggie. I'm like, are you good today? I've been sleeping. So I think everybody's tired from this crazy week in this case, but it's history and we are now waiting on sentencing. They will do that. I think he said around December 14th in that week. When I know for sure, I'll let you know. Thanks to everybody who joined the live last night, came and hung out with us for 2 solid hours again. We're kind of just, we flow so well. I think everybody knows the case back and forth, and 2 hours come and go so fast. I had no clue again till I hit end. We had went that long. Thanks to everybody who donated super chat also and has bought merch. A little example of how that helps. My microphone today, when I wanted to record this much earlier and make it an episode for today, I found that it was making some really odd sounds, and I've had to go in and adjust some things recently, but I took it to a place that sells these, and we plugged it in, and he said, oh, it's really just not, it's not going to be good. It's going to be a lot of editing, and I don't have time for that. So with the donations that you guys have sent in over the last month or so, I bought this bad boy, and I've wanted this since I started podcasting. So, the good thing is something good for me to use that hopefully you guys can hear the difference. Okay. Music facts of the day. This is not really a fact, but these are famous songs that singers or bands do not like to perform live. You Got to Fight for Your Right to Party by the Beastie Boys. Wonderwall by Oasis. Such a good song. Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin. One of my favorites. Nothing Compares to You, Sinead O'Connor. That's one of my favorites. Jack and Diane, John Mellencamp. Good one. And Creep by Radiohead. So, yeah. I'm trying to not do as frequent of episodes about the University of Idaho right now, just because we're not getting anything new that is linked to the investigation. We're getting clarification. We're getting a lot of confusing statements. I think the one thing I've noticed today, kind of going back deep into this case, is people need to stop talking. Like, they don't need to have anybody talking. They need to have like one person that's your media person, because things are getting confused and lost in translation. And then before you know it, we'll get to it. But that's kind of the biggest thing I've noticed. We're coming up on 3 weeks this Sunday that these murders happened. And from where I'm standing, it doesn't look like we're any closer to catching anybody than we were the day of the murders. And so I hope there's a lot happening in the background. Kaylee's dad was on Good Morning America, and when asked if Kaylee ever made statements to him about a stalker, he kind of threw his head back and very quickly said, yeah, she did. So rumor control, let's go ahead and knock these out, because these things are a dime a dozen in this case. I was on Twitter earlier today, and I just had the hashtag searching the Idaho homicides hashtag, and I saw about 7 Instagram profiles of people. This is who did it. Look, he likes to hunt. It's gotten really out of control. And so anyways, a 6th person was on that lease at the house where the murders took place, but cleared as a suspect, not on their radar. Idaho State Police Forensic Services Crime Lab, they've worked on this case for weeks, and they have provided testing and analysis results to detectives. As they complete additional tests, they will also be provided, but we will not be hearing about what they find. So there was an issue about targeted attack, okay? The prosecutor talked to some media and said that there was, he said somebody was specifically looking at that house and had targeted somebody. And it's just, so Moscow police have to go and kind of fan the flames a bit to get this to die down. It says, we remain consistent in our belief that this was a targeted attack, but investigators have not concluded if the target was the residents or if it was the occupants. I mean, it doesn't seem really like this is the residents being targeted. We haven't heard if anything was taken, and that could be possible. But it seems really suspicious that these people were seemingly found in their bed, if not close to it. This was I don't think this was a target of the house, but also there was a death on Baker Street in February of this year, and the death was due to an overdose not related to the murders. There's been reports of a red Mustang on South Deacon Street being processed as part of the investigation. Not accurate. The vehicle is not connected to the murders. By the way, they just towed those cars away yesterday from the scene. So it says on the 29th, it was the 29th, Tuesday, the victim's cars and a few other things were relocated from the crime scene to a more secure long-term storage location to continue processing evidence. And okay, so here we go. At this time in the investigation, let's talk about again who's not a suspect. Okay, the two surviving roommates, not a suspect. The male in the grub truck surveillance video, not a suspect. Private party driver who drove Kaylee and Maddie home on November 13th, not a suspect. Jack, Kaylee's ex-boyfriend, not a suspect. They do not believe the double stabbing in 1999 in Pullman, Washington, and the 2021 double stabbing, which resulted in one fatality in Salem, Oregon, are connected to these murders. Not connected. Move on. There was a police report of deceased animals left on a resident's property. This was determined to be wildlife activity and not related to the murders. Online reports of the victims being bound and gagged, not true. There have been media questions about a September 12th, 2022 incident regarding an argument between a group of people walking on the University of Idaho bike path and a cyclist. It was reported that during the confrontation, the cyclist displayed a folding knife. Both parties left and there were no injuries. The cyclist turned himself into the police and the case was investigated. Misdemeanor charges were referred to the Moscow County Attorney's Office. There's no connection with the individual involved in this incident and the current murder investigation. I've seen those flying around today too. Okay, so Brian Inton interviewed the prosecutor earlier this week, and he would not say if all of the victims were actually found in their beds, saying that's something investigators might want to keep close, since very few people actually know the exact location of the dead bodies in the house, which is confusing because shortly after these homicides, the coroner goes on and says they were in their beds. And, you know, you've got him, and we'll keep going with him. He said as far as he knows, there was no symbol or anything, just weird left in that house. He hasn't heard anything about this revolving around drugs, does not think that's the issue. He told Brian that they have eliminated many potential suspects, but still have no suspects or persons of interest in the murders. And he said it seems like the word targeted has different understandings for different people. Targeting is, to me, that's a pretty direct word. Yeah. I don't know what kind of meaning it has for you guys, but for me, it's like I got my sights on you. But the prosecutor, Bill Thompson, also gave an interview to KTVB's Morgan Romero, where he misspoke and said one of the students indeed was targeted, and he was confident they would find the person responsible. So the Moscow PD quickly did some damage control, telling Morgan, "Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. We want to let you know that there was a miscommunication between detectives and my office. To clarify, investigators do not believe the murders were random, but we cannot state the residents or any occupants were specifically targeted." I apologize for the confusion. Yeah, it's really confusing because you've got three press releases that say three different things, and then the interview. So later, the Moscow PD put out a press release about the issue, saying conflicting information has been released over the past 24 hours. The prosecutor's office stated the suspect specifically looked at this residence and that one or more of the occupants were undoubtedly targeted. We've spoken with the prosecutor's office and identified there was a miscommunication. Detectives do not currently know if the residents or any of the occupants were specifically targeted, but continue to investigate. Then this morning, the public information officer, Aaron Snell, said, "We remain consistent in our belief this was indeed a targeted attack, but we have not concluded if the target was the residents or its occupants." So they're just back and forth. I got whiplash from this. They need to have one person giving statements, everybody's talking and everybody's got their own version of what they heard, and I'm sure for the families it's very frustrating. In fact, Kaylee's sister spoke to News Nation Now, where she said police are throwing around the word targeted, and she said they don't know what that means. They don't have any information on what they mean by it. She doesn't know if they're saying it was all 4 students or just one. Also, yesterday, Aaron Snell said the collecting of evidence at the scene is coming to a conclusion. He said it's a very complex crime scene and they're being very thorough. He hasn't heard any specific time frame for releasing the crime scene, but he has heard it being discussed. And so, I think at that point they'll allow family to go in and get personal belongings, but they don't clean up the crime scene. It could be different here, but I can't imagine those families having to walk in there. Hopefully they won't. Somebody can go in there and get the stuff, because everything we've heard is this is a very brutal crime scene, very bloody. Kaylee's dad gave an interview to ABC News and said, I have to assume and hope this is all part of their plan. They got this all figured out. I know there's some really good, hardworking guys and girls that are on this case and that I've met. And they've looked at me in the eyes and told me straight out, they're working, they're doing everything in their power. He said, you can imagine sending your girl to college and they come back in an urn. You're numb and you can't absorb that amount of pain and energy. She was going places. She was highly motivated. I hope people understand how all these kids were doing everything right. And they were going to be the type of people you would want to be your neighbor. And now it's time for a word from our paid sponsor of the week, BetterHelp. It would be nice if life came with a user manual, such as when you have your first baby or you're navigating tough losses in life. Unfortunately, as we know, life does not come with a user manual. So when it's not working for you, it's normal to feel stuck. Navigating any of life's challenges can make you feel unsure, whether it's a career change, a new relationship, or becoming a parent. Therapists are trained to help you figure out the cause of the challenging emotions and learn productive coping skills, which makes therapy the closest thing to a guided tour of the complex engine called you. Therapy can help you learn to cope with past trauma, can give you coping mechanisms to the problems in your life, and give you a neutral person to help navigate the problem, big or small, we all face in life. As the world's largest therapy service, BetterHelp has matched 3 million people with professionally licensed and vetted therapists, available 100% online. Plus, it's affordable. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to match with the therapist. If things aren't clicking, you can easily switch to a new therapist anytime. It couldn't be simpler. No waiting rooms, no traffic, no endless searching for the right therapist. Learn more and save 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/whattheworld. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/whattheworld. He said he considered Maddie another daughter. He said when you're sick and you're down and you're out, you want to have some great friend that's always there for you, and that's what they had. There is no Kaylee without Maddie. He also said that the 4 died quickly with large punctures from a brutal weapon, and that they did not lay bleeding out for hours. He did say, too, the earlier a 911 call made earlier probably would not have saved their lives. He said the hardest part of all this, other than losing Kaylee, is knowing the killer is out there having a great life, and you're left in shambles. He actually found out about Kaylee from family members who were on campus, and that was before police confirmed her death to him. He said their family shared certain passwords, so he was able to give investigators some helpful information that came from her social media accounts and her cell phone. Now, here's what's odd. I don't know if you guys remember this woman, but there was a woman at one of the earlier pressers that stood up and identified herself as Destiny Martin from the Pathfinder, which is a student-run newspaper at Lewis and Clark State College in Lewiston, Idaho. Then she asked whether the FBI's behavior analysis unit had any working profiles of the suspect, and also asked police if they had ruled out the possibility that the killer was a woman. So, number one, she didn't look like student. Okay. She looked to be about probably maybe 40 something, but it's weird. Why would you go and say you're part of a newspaper? Said the student newspaper's like, whoa, they made a statement essentially saying we have no clue who she is. Turns out she has a TikTok account and posted it saying, "You guys are out there speculating. I'm just trying to show you guys from a first person perspective what it's like to be up here right now. I'm trying to give you guys the most accurate information, spread awareness. I'm also trying to give you guys actual, authentic coverage from a non news source. But why identify yourself as working for a student newspaper?" In another clip, she said she's a member of the community who has been helping in this investigation as a concerned citizen. And she said she was asked for help, but did not say who asked her to help. So there was a candlelight vigil held last night on campus. Thanksgiving break is over. It seems like campus is a little thinner. Seems like a lot of people opted to stay home, and I do not blame them. And hats off to those who went back. But Ethan's mom, Stacy, spoke, as well as Kaylee's father, Steve, and Maddie's dad, Ben. And so Stacy's up first, and she introduces herself as Ethan's mom, and she's very choked up. And she wants to extend her deepest condolences to each family impacted by the tragedy. She says, "Hard we're here without these four beautiful kids tonight. Our triplets enrolled here for the small town feel, beautiful campus, and Greek systems. Those were mandatory must haves. When they came to this campus to visit, they said it felt right, and they knew as a family we had made a right decision." And she said during orientation that it became clear to them this is where the triplets were meant to go. She said the hardest part is they cannot change this outcome. And she said, as family, it's important that we share his legacy he made in his short 20 years. We are now Ethan's voice. Our family is no different than yours. We've traveled. We sat at the table together when time permitted. We've surfed. We spent countless hours in our boat listening to country music, which was Ethan's most favorite thing in the whole world. We hiked. The kids did reluctantly, I admit. Our kids even had their wisdom teeth pulled together. The most important thing is that in our family, is we had each other's backs, and we will continue to do so. We are eternally grateful we spent so much time with him. And I want to remind you the most important message we have for you and your families is to make sure to spend as much time as possible with your people. Time is precious, and it's something you can't get back. It's really important. This is our message to you. You have to put your energy into achieving your goals. Ethan tolerated school and class, but loved the social life. He would want you to continue to focus on your futures and your ambitions. She thanks law enforcement and those on site and everybody around the nation. She asked for continued support for their families and told people to be kind. And then she said, "We're all vandals." So next up was Kaylee's dad, Steve. He said, "The main reason I'm here today is so everyone can understand what we lost. I hope to make you laugh, but I'm afraid we're going to have to cry. We lost four beautiful souls. I'm here to talk about the two I knew. When I started thinking about how to tell you what their souls were like and what they meant to me, I thought this is going to be really tough. So I did what you guys do. I Googled it. I went in and kind of looked for some of the most beautiful things in the world. I looked for some kind of inspiration. I knew I should have taken creative writing more seriously. Then I found the seven wonders of the world and I looked at them for inspiration. And I prayed to my girls and said, "You have to help me here. I'm struggling." They came to me and said, "There should be another wonder of the world, the wonder of the relationship between a father and a daughter." Oh my gosh, y'all. I cried watching this. The minute they put that baby in your hand, you wonder, what am I going to do? How are you going to feed them, take care of them? Then you wonder why your wife's yelling because you're feeding a baby a hamburger. Then you wonder, how am I going to make this the best opportunity for the both of us? And then you start seeing the world through the girl's eyes. There's puppies and kittens and all these weird movies you have to watch. And they start crying all the time. And then you start falling in love with this world they've built. You see this world and it changes. You don't have pickup trucks and footballs. You start seeing the beauty of what they have and what makes them special. So when I was trying to see this world and I was trying to picture what my daughter would want me to say, and she would want me to say she loved designer purses and brand new shoes. That's how I see the world now, and I never want to see it any other way. My girls gave me sense. I don't like to go up there and embarrass us. She would say, "Don't be a Chad, Dad." These girls were absolutely beautiful. They've been friends since 6th grade, and we put them in a charter academy. They felt like they were being punished until they found each other. Every day they did homework together, they came to our house together, they shared everything. Went to high school together, came here together. They found this place together, and in the end, they died together in the same room and the same bed. The beauty of the two always being together comforts us. It's like a book with a terrible chapter. There's beauty in it. We're going to get our justice. We're going to figure this out. This community deserves it. As I look at you, there's only one way for this to get a little better and to heal a bit. There's pain everywhere. You're going to have to love each other. You're going to have to hug each other. You're going to have to be a little awkward. You're just going to have to share. And the only cure to pain is love. It's the only thing that's going to heal us and you. Go out of your way to tell someone you love them. Love the people in the room, the apartments and houses you go into. Change your life a little bit to be a little nicer and kinder. So we have Maddie's dad, Ben. When they told us they're going to have us talking, I thought, please don't have me go after him. He's really good. Madison, Maddie Mae. She was the first grandkid for any of her grandparents and my only child. Everything she ever did was such a big deal. She was a great kid, a perfect baby. She was nice to everybody. And ever since she was first born, people would say, tell me about yourself. And I would say, here's a picture of my daughter. She's on the dean's list. She's got great friends in her sorority. I took her to see concerts when she was younger, and we saw some really good shows. This reminds me of me and my daughter. We'd take her friends sometimes. She was really upset when Mac Miller was coming, and she was upset because she couldn't get tickets. They were sold out, and I was nervous. I didn't know what to do. So I started entering all these radio station contests the night before the concert. I won 4 tickets, and they were meet and greet, and we got to meet him after the show. This is my happiest memory of her. She traveled to Canada to go to music festivals. She always worked hard. She got a job when she was young. She's bought her own car, pays for her own gas. So he thanks everyone who is working and trying to figure this out. And thanks to everyone for their love and support. You see how good people can be when something terrible happens. Thanks for being here. So that was kind of it. That's really all that's happening. I hope we have a break soon. 3 weeks, nearly 3 weeks. And just unimaginable for these families and scary for everybody in that community and beyond. Not to know who did this, what was the motivation, a lot going on. Hopefully the DNA can provide some answers, but I still think as popular as that house was, it's going to make it a challenge. All right, guys, we'll see you maybe sometime this weekend for a little stray show. If not, I'll definitely see you on Monday. Have a good one.